Alright, greetings everyone. Walking down the street, I thought I would make a little commentary on the current situation in the Bahamas with respect to increased taxation. Now, there was a time in the Bahamas where we actually had achieved tax haven status. Prior to the information exchange age, where the tax information treaties had to be signed for various economic centers like the Bahamas and other Caribbean countries. After these agreements were signed, a lot of the foreign banks had to basically make an exodus due to the fact that the regulatory regime had been changed and there was no longer a possibility for them to hoard cash without any international monetary organizations scrutinizing what took place. But the reason why I mentioned the current situation in the Bahamas, our taxation, we moved from a value-added tax of 7.5% to a value-added tax of 12%. Most recently, it's going into effect July 1st. But many people will wonder, how did our business environment, how did our economy get to the point where this taxation was made necessary, right? But the reality is, if we look at third world developing states, and that's not just the Bahamas, that's all Caribbean countries, that's the majority of African countries on the continent, we fall in the category of third world developing states, right? But just how did we find ourselves in this position where our taxation was necessary? Well, we can blame the predatory lenders like the IMF, like the WTO, and various other economic partnerships. The international monetary organizations lend money to territories such as ours for exorbitant fees and basically make the economy a slave to whoever was the lender, right? And so this has been going on since practically all of the third world nations achieved independence, right? After they achieved independence, their economy was sabotaged by the economic hitmen, resulting in regressive taxation for the citizenry of most of these countries. Okay, now, even though we can also blame government wastage, government wastage is a factor that resulted in us having to borrow so much money. But the predatory lending situation has crippled most independent black countries who achieved independence since Ghana, practically since Haiti achieved independence. Most of the economies of these independent developing black states have been sabotaged by international lending organizations. Now, these lending organizations, their mandate is to create a slave and master relationship between the first world and the third world developing countries. So yes, we can blame the previous regimes for wastage and government spending, excessive expenditure, but at the same time, the environment that we exist in, there was never any equality. So a country like the Bahamas is a prime target for the economic hitman, right? And so this is what I wanted to touch on, because this is basically institutionalized racism on a larger scale than the individual level that we all experience it on. Okay, so just let me know what y'all think about this. Let me know what y'all think about the international lending organizations who have forced most regimes like ours to have the currency devalued and to also increase the taxation for the average citizen, knowing full well that this was the result of the first world making a predatory relationship with the third world in order to derive and to basically siphon all of the capital that we are able to amass over the years of our independence and the security that we are able to develop. They're basically seeking to erode this base and put us in a position of dependency. But let me know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe. One love.